Verse of the day 15 in Psalm chapter 147 verse 11. The psalmist reveals the heart of God and his delight in those who trust and revere him. The Lord takes pleasure in those who fear him, in those who hope in his mercy. This verse emphasizes the intimate relationship between God and his people, highlighting reverence and trust as the foundation of a life that pleases him. Psalm chapter 147 is a hymn of praise celebrating God's power, provision, and care for his people. Written after the return of the Israelites from exile, the psalm acknowledges God's sovereignty in restoring and sustaining his people. Verse 11 shifts the focus from God's might to his relationship with his people, showing that he delights not in human strength but in a heart that fears him and trusts in his mercy. The Lord takes pleasure in those who fear him. This fear is not terror but reverence, awe, and deep respect for God's authority and holiness. In those who hope in his mercy. Hope in his mercy reflects trust in God's unfailing love, grace, and compassion, especially in times of need. Together, these attributes, reverence and trust, form the foundation of a life that honors God and brings him joy. Old Testament references. Proverbs chapter 9 verse 10. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. Reverence for God is the starting point of a life aligned with his will, pleasing him. Psalm chapter 33 verse 18. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear him, on those who hope in his steadfast love. This verse closely parallels Psalm chapter 147 verse 11, emphasizing God's attentiveness to those who trust him. Micah chapter 7 verse 7. But as for me, I will look to the Lord. I will wait for the God of my salvation. My God will hear me. Hoping in God's mercy involves patient trust in his saving power and love. New Testament references. Luke chapter 1 verse 50. His mercy is on those who fear him from generation to generation. Mary's Magnificat affirms that God's mercy is extended to those who revere him. Hebrews chapter 11 verse 6. Without faith it is impossible to please him. Trusting in God, akin to hoping in his mercy, is essential to a relationship that pleases him. Romans chapter 15 verse 13. May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in believing. Hoping in God's mercy leads to joy and peace, reflecting a life that honors him. Applications for today. Cultivate reverence for God. Revere God by acknowledging his holiness, sovereignty, and authority in your life. Honor him through worship, obedience, and a heart that seeks to glorify him. Trust in his mercy. Place your hope in God's compassion and steadfast love, especially during challenges. Recognize that his mercy is the source of your salvation and daily provision. Focus on what pleases God. God delights not in external accomplishments or physical strength but in a heart that fears him and trusts him fully. Align your priorities with his desires by cultivating a deeper relationship with him. Be a witness of God's character. Demonstrate your reverence for God and hope in his mercy through your words and actions, inspiring others to trust him. Rest in God's pleasure. Knowing that God takes pleasure in you as you revere and trust him brings peace and confidence in his love. Relevance for the modern generation. In a world often driven by self-reliance and achievement, this verse redirects believers to prioritize a relationship with God based on reverence and trust. It challenges the modern generation to find their worth in God's delight rather than in human approval or accomplishments. The emphasis on hope in God's mercy offers assurance in uncertain times, reminding believers that His love is unfailing. Final reflection. Psalm chapter 147 verse 11 beautifully reveals God's heart. This verse encourages believers to live with reverence and trust, knowing that such a life brings joy to God. In a world filled with uncertainty, anchor yourself in God's steadfast love and find peace in His delight over you. God bless you and give you grace after grace.